So, Jaylen Brown signed that 5-year, $304 million deal, Supermax deal with the Celtics. It's been, I'm not sure how many days, it's been like 4 to 3 days. And it's, of course, been a huge topic. And everyone's been making fun of his left-hand dribbling, which we all talked about, probably. If you watched my channel, you know I talked about it a lot, that his dribbling to the left is really rough. And that he needs to improve his driving in terms of, being able to read it better and being able to pass out of his drives much better, which he certainly has the athleticism and ability to do, and of course the dribbling. And then, of course, you had also the incredible number that he's gonna earn $69.1 million in 2028 and 2029. I'm still sick. Excuse me, I'm not gonna cut this one out, but I'll try to cut the other ones out, but so you know. Anyway, Jaylen Brown, I would say, is a great player. I'm not sure where I would rank him, but he is a tier 2, tier 3 player in terms of, impact, and they have been around the finals probably almost every year. He's been a Celtic essentially, right? Which is crazy. He's still only 26 years old, don't you forget about that. But of course he has not improved that dribbling, which we have all talked about, but I would say it's much harder than we all think. I think he has to be self-aware in that term, because he seems like a genuinely guy that wants to do better and wants to be good for the community. Sometimes, of course, we have some disagreements on some stuff, me and him. I'm talking like I know him, but from what I've seen on Twitter, and it's maybe he's not self-aware. I don't know the guy, of course, but I would assume that the people around him know, and since it's literally everywhere on the internet, if you even look at the internet once, you know that everyone's making fun of his left-handed dribbling. So it would be a really weird thing if he didn't know, even if he wasn't on the internet, if somebody around him didn't know, right? So what I'm trying to say with this is he still has a lot of years to improve, and he's still 26 years old. He's gonna be 27 at the start of the next season, and they have been a finals contender every year. They were pretty close against my Warriors in 2022, and Steph Curry happened. And of course they are still somewhat inconsistent, and if I were to bet who's gonna win, I'm not gonna bet on Tatum and Brown. Let's just make it clear, but it's also has to do in some parts with Jason Tatum, so there's that. But I'm kind of spitballing here all over the place, but what I'm trying to say here is that this deal is really good, and it's the market, it's just how it is. What is bad about this deal is that you're gonna see way more deals in this Supermax range and stuff, and then you're gonna see like $10 million deals, and you're not gonna see some much in the middle with the new CBA, which just appears pretty bad and not great, not right. But at the end of the day, that's what CJ McCollum, Grant Williams, and the Players Association, or however they're called, did, and I guess they'll have to live with it. But it is what it is, I suppose. It's hard to make this work because, of course, they introduced the Supermax, they introduced these limitations, they introduced all of these things, and that's just the way it is. And what are you gonna give Jaylen Brown, right? You're gonna give him the Supermax. You're not gonna give him less, since he is one of the better players in the league. He is a tier 2 player in this league, at probably worst even. Of course, he's not a tier 1 player, but he is a great player. He is still young, fairly, considering, the best players in the world are pretty old overall, right? And they peak at the ages of 27 to 30 most of the time, the best players in the world that is. And I'm all over the place in this video, which is considerably, which makes sense. I'm sorry, I'm gonna probably leave most of these things in, because I'm just still kinda sick, as you can probably hear on my voice, right? And as I told you, but I just wanted to kinda, I don't know, spitball about this, because it's been on my mind most of the time. Most of the time, it's like I'm thinking about Jaylen Brown's contract every day. When I'm thinking about the NBA and what to make as in videos, Jaylen Brown's contract is on my mind, and I guess I said my things. There's not much more to add. I guess I'll try to recap. So I think this deal is great. I think it makes sense for the Celtics. We'll see if they try to trade him, and you can also look at this from the both sides. They can try to trade him after the contract first year kicks in, so next year. essentially they cannot trade him this year. If I'm pretty sure that's how most of the media said it, even though kind of doesn't make sense since he still has that 31.8 million next year, which I don't know, man. But that's what I've read, I've heard. So he can't be traded for the next season. Maybe he'll be traded in the next season, and he'll be in trade rumors until eventually split ways anyway. And all of this will be for, well, not nothing, but just road that they had to take for both sides essentially, because they can't lose any assets just like Jaylen Brown is, and Jaylen Brown can't turn down $304 million. Goddamn. Even though he of course technically could, but I guess no sane basketball player would turn this down unless, of course, they were offered roughly the same amount of money elsewhere, but you simply can't since he's with the Celtics, right? And the Supermax is just this thing that makes this happen. And the question is the Supermax even good for the league, right? Is it? I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, that's what the league agreed on. That's what the CBA money, rises up, and there's not much we can do except accept it, just like with life sometimes. And we can debate it, we can argue that Jaylen Brown's left-handed dribbling doesn't make sense with this deal and everything around this. I kind of agree with you that it's, stupid that he has the largest deal, but at the same time, there has been no other player that signed the Supermax, at the same time as him, essentially, except for, who was it? LaMelo, Tyrese Haliburton, and these kind of players that signed $260 million deals, which you could argue is kind of crazy, even though they are young and could grow into even better players than they are already. But that's just what the market is, and not much you can do. You wouldn't say Jaylen Brown is worse than LaMelo and Tyrese Haliburton, even though I certainly like to watch maybe even both more, but certainly Tyrese Haliburton, but I wouldn't say he's a better player than Jaylen Brown. But that's where we get into comparisons and into debates, and that's what makes this fun, but also kind of stupid, because the comparisons are hard. It's really hard to compare, for example, Tyrese Haliburton and Jaylen Brown. It's such a bad comparison, right? They played a different position, they both have such a different roles with their teams, and you just don't know what would happen if they played, the other way around, right? Or they swapped places. It's just, you could speculate, and you could say Tyrese Haliburton would be better for the Celtics than Jaylen Brown is right now. Maybe, maybe not. It's kind of hard to know, right? Overall, but at the same time, that's what we love to do, right? We love to say if LeBron had those Warriors teams, he would have won everything, and that's the if, and then you get lost in the ifs, and it's eventually and essentially just stupid to argue about, even though I agree most of the time with things that if LeBron had these people around him, he would have won those titles. Yeah, I'm not delusional at the same time, right? But at the same time, it also is really hard to do that, and when you do this for every player, it just makes all of these comparisons and all of the player, movements or everything just rough and hard to talk about, because of course, when you compare Jaylen Brown to other players, he's not supposed to be the most, the largest contract in NBA history. But at the same time, when you compare him to the market, when you compare him to what LaMelo got, to Tyrese Haliburton got, I'm not sure who else from the rookie guys got the Supermax contract extension, but you get the point, right? He's probably there's no way when you compare their contracts, he does not deserve more money than them. At the same time, I would argue. So it's this, comparison conundrum kind of that I'm getting here, and I might just still be too sick to even talk about anything. But I'll put this out there, because why not, man? Why not? Hey, maybe somebody in the comments can put it in the words much better than me. Maybe I'll just look like a fool, and I don't care, because at the end of the day, this is very complicated and sophisticated, and that's how debates should be. And yeah, Jaylen Brown has his flaws, but he deserves this contract, in my opinion, right? And he deserves this contract, in my opinion, and that's pretty much it. So shout out Jaylen Brown. Hopefully he builds that, how did he call it, Black Wall Street in Boston. Hopefully he does. I'm rooting for him, and I'm happy for the guy, and we'll see how the contract works, man. We'll see.